Okay, so this PowerPoint is on early development, fertilization, implantation, and the embryonic part of the development. So that's the formation of from a ball of cells all the way through to organ formation. Okay, and so we're going to start by reviewing the menstrual cycle and female anatomy. Remember that the hypothalamus releases gonadotropin releasing hormone, and that controls the pituitary gland and promotes the release of follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. Follicle stimulating hormone in the ovary causes follicles to develop. Okay, as those follicles develop in the first part, the follicular phase, they secrete a lot of estrogen and a little bit of progesterone. Um, then we get to as we are proliferating here, we get to a positive feedback that leads to a spike in LH and FSS or FSH, which will cause ovulation, where the follicle releases the secondary oocyte, and that then is going to move into the fallopian tube. There'll then be a fall in estrogen levels and a rise in progesterone as the corpus luteum takes over. That's the remains of the follicle, similar cells. This causes the secretory phase or the luteal phase, and the lining continues to thicken and it gets much more glandular. And then, if nothing happens, there's negative feedback and progesterone declines. Okay, but if there's intercourse and sperm are deposited in the vagina, those sperm will swim up through the cervix into the uterus and into the uterine tubes. And they will then uh, can meet the oocyte, which should be drawn into here by cilia that are creating a little current that draws them in. Okay, this is the site of fertilization. Okay, and fertilization just means that the secondary oocyte and the sperm will fuse. The oocyte is not that, for a pregnancy to occur, the oocyte can't be old because it's moving down towards the uterus as things are happening because of that current. And so the oocyte is viable for 12 to 24, 36 hours, something like that. It has a thick covering of granulosa cells and then a protein layer called the zona pellucida. And so it takes multiple sperm to work their way through that. Um, and the sperm are using the enzymes in their acrosome to work their way through that. And the first sperm that is able to do that will be the one that fertilizes the egg. And so that sperm are using that acrosome, those enzymes, to digest through the zona pellucida. When the sperm makes contact with the egg membrane, there's a depolarization, and so the first sperm can make it through, but this change in charge will prevent other sperm from simultaneously fertilizing the egg, and it'll also trigger the release of chemicals that are going to change the nature of the proteins in the zona pellucida so that they're no longer, the acrosomal reactions can't occur to do that. Um, when this happens, the secondary oocyte quickly completes meiosis, and then you get the fusion of the male and the female haploid nuclei, and this produces a diploid cell that's having the normal number 46 chromosomes. This early cell is it's going to give rise to all other cells. It's called totipotent. And so cell division will occur. This is just mitosis. And so you'll have a 2-cell, a 4-cell, an 8-cell stage. These other ones, as cell division occurs, these cells still retain some of that ability to develop into other tissues, but gradually they're losing it. Um, Eventually, you get a solid ball of cells at about the 16-cell stage, and then gradually mitosis continues, and this ball becomes hollow. And this is the blastocyst. It has an inner cell mass, a layer of outer cells, and then a fluid-filled space in there. Okay, and this is early development. This is happening quite quickly, within the first, uh, 7 or 8 days. The marula is at the 12 stage cell stage, about 72 hours. Um, by the time you get to the blastocyst, you're at 5 days, 6 days. And really, the only part of this that will give rise to the embryo is the inner cell mass. The rest of this is going to form the membranes that will support the embryo. And so the trophoblast that's designed to be part of the membranes, the inner cell mass, will become the embryonic tissue, and everything else is uh, going to give rise to placenta or some other structure. Okay, so when we talk about early development, we talk about the formation of the germ layers, the formation of the organs, and then growth and maturation. Really, the first two happen in the embryo stage, okay, where this is through the 8th week of pregnancy. Then after that is most growth and maturation after the 8th week. So the most formation occurs very early. This is when critical things are happening. Okay, so here, this diagram from your textbook shows where things are happening. Fertilization. Here's the ovulated oocyst, fertilization, 2-cell stage, the marula, and then the blastocyst. The blastocyst has to get to this stage, reach this stage by the time it's in this area of the uterus for a successful implantation to occur. If it goes too far down, there are problems with implanting lower down, with where the placenta may be torn and bleed frequently. And so this is why that fertilization has to occur here and early. When the placenta, what happens to form the placenta is the trophoblast will start sinking into the mucosa cells of the endometrium. The chorion, this outer part, will form the chorion, and that secretes a hormone, human chorionic gonadotropin. And this hormone kind of takes the place of FSH and LH, and it maintains the corpus luteum, and so that it keeps producing progesterone and estrogen. This is crucial for maintaining pregnancy, and so this has to happen. The placenta has an endometrial portion, and then it also has the embryonic portion. And later on, the placenta will start producing its own estrogen and progesterone. But early on, it's the maintenance of the corpus luteum that does that. Okay, so here's an illustration showing kind of the inner cell mass forming a disc, and then you have the trophoblast cells kind of forming what will become the placenta and the amniotic cavity and things like that. And so there's lots of stuff going on there. Only the embryonic disc becomes the baby. The rest is supporting tissue. Okay, and here you see the placenta, you see the amnion, the yolk sac, and then the chorion going around it. Okay, the placenta itself contains maternal arteries and veins, and then it contains umbilical arteries and veins, which are part of the embryonic structure. So this forms very early, and continues to grow throughout pregnancy. And that's going to deliver nutrients, oxygen. It'll take away waste products and carbon dioxide. Okay. At the time that the placenta is forming, the embryonic disc will start undergoing some migrations and some folding, and it'll form 3 layers: the ectoderm, the endoderm, and the mesoderm. The ectoderm, the outer layer, is going to form the epidermis, this upper layer of the skin and the nervous system. Okay, the endodermis will form the lining of the intestine and digestive organs and the lining of the respiratory system. And then the middle layer, the mesoderm, will form skeletal, muscle tissue, and blood vessels. Okay, and you can kind of see this folding going on here. And so this is going on in that disc. And this is going to lead to the formation of the embryo. Here, this just, you can read this at your leisure, come back to it and pause the video. And this will go over in detail what's formed in each of the germ layers. Okay, so the three trimesters, in the first trimester, we get that human chorionic gonadotropin that maintains the corpus luteum. And this is the primary hormonal mechanism that maintains pregnancy. Okay, in the second and third trimesters, human chorionic gonadotropin decreases, and progesterone and estrogen still increase, but they're produced more often by the placenta. And so the placenta increases the production of those hormones so that to maintain development. Let's see. Oh, okay. So I'm going back here, showing about the formation of the germ layers and gastrulation. And this begins with a fold that happens in the back of the embryo called the neural groove. Okay, and this fold comes closer and closer together, and it'll form the tubes that will form the notochord and the nerve tube. And so this is why the ectoderm and the nervous system are formed of the same tissue, because that's the initial tissue that causes this fold. Okay, and this is also going to establish a head and tail axis of the body. Then below this, you'll get the formation of the gut and body cavities. And so as this is going on the dorsal part of the embryo, um, the at the ventral part, you'll get the formation of the digestive tract. Okay, and so uh, here's where this dorsal part is, or excuse me, this dorsal part here is where the nervous system forms in that neural groove, and then below that you'll get the formation of uh, the gut, and then the complete closing off of the body wall, and then this tissue on the side that will form the mesoderm. Okay, and so this is happening about day 20 after fertilization has occurred, and so you have all these things kind of happening at the same time, and they're happening kind of early, and so this is really really crucial. And you're getting same likewise, day 20 to day 30 is where you get development of really uh, basic structures like the face and the organs and the limbs. And so here we can see the development of the face from a couple of the folds that develop in the pharyngeal region. These folds eventually will form the upper and lower jaws, but early on, they're just folds. So here you see them at 29 days, at 33 days, at 40 days. So that's like 6 weeks, 7 weeks. Here's 48 days, or almost at 7 weeks there, and at 14 weeks you have the face. Okay, and so that's kind of the basic structures that are happening during the embryonic period. Okay, here at the end of the embryonic period is a embryo at 7 weeks. Okay, and you can see here the face hasn't formed yet, but we do have the beginnings of a head, the swelling of the brain. Here are the limb buds, which you see here and here. There's a distinct tail. This is the pharyngeal region. It's expanded. And so the end of the embryonic period, you have the rough outlines of the embryo, and you're building structures that will then grow during the fetal period. Okay.